Hello, welcome to the Backwoodsman Institute. My name's Scott Fromey. Today I'd like to introduce you guys to my trade gun, which is a French trade gun. It's called a Fusil DeChasse. So what is a Fusil DeChasse? A Fusil DeChasse is, like I said, a French trade gun. Now if you translate that out, Fusil meaning gun and DeChasse meaning hunting, so a hunting gun. So this was the hunting gun and the trade gun that was carried by the early Frenchmen and the Europeans and the Native Americans in all of like Canada, the Great Lakes area, and all the influence of where French had prior to the French and Indian War, which me being in southern Indiana, there's more of a French type of influence on the early Native Americans. Now if you want to talk trade guns, if you go south, like the southeastern states, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, all along that, Louisiana, and even the southwest, that influence was from the Spanish. So they would be carrying more of the Spanish-made guns. So when did the English start influence? Well, as the colonies settled on the east coast of the United States, their boundary lines was Appalachian Mountains. Just prior to the mid-1700s, the English traders were coming across the mountains and trying to influence and take away some of the trade from the Native Americans from the French. Now what was the trade? The big ticket item was pelts, beaver pelts. So that influence, and in fact that friction that was caused by that is what caused the French and Indian War. After the French and Indian War, when the English took control of east of the Mississippi and Canada, then their influence of the English-made trade guns started coming into my area. But most of that English trade guns was done like in the Iroquois area, like Pennsylvania, New York, and all along from North Carolina, Georgia, on up into there. So the difference between the English version is, if you look at the French, the Fusil DeChasse, it's got more of a rounded off comb, where the British models where the comb was a little bit more straight. Now, and pretty well the rest of it was a lot of it was the same. After the Revolutionary War, the trade gun of this area probably was the Northwest trade gun, and that started out a long barrel, but as time went on, after the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, on that the barrels became shorter and shorter. A lot of people mistake it for the Kentucky rifle. They say, oh, you got a Kentucky rifle. So no, it's not a Kentucky rifle. For one, it's not rifled. It's a smooth bore. The golden age of the Kentucky rifle really happened between the French and Indian War and on after that. That's when the Kentucky rifle really got to its heyday. But prior to the Kentucky era of the Kentucky rifle was the trade gun. So getting back to the characteristics of this gun here, it's a flintlock. It's also a smooth bore. It's a 20 gauge, so it's capable of shooting shot or a ball. In the time era of this firearm, we had buffalo, elk, bear, maybe on the northern parts of Indiana, and especially up in the northern territories was moose. A little further up was caribou. So you needed something besides just shot. And really, if you load this with a ball, and I'll show you here a little, this is a round ball of what I shoot, and that is really the actual diameter is .595, which is a 62 caliber. You take a 62 caliber ball. This ball is capable of taking buffalo, elk, moose, definitely does a number on deer, I'll tell you that much right now. As with any type of firearm, you need to know what its limitations are, and For instance, like turkey, you're dealing with a 20 gauge with no choke. I've shot turkey with it. It can be done. Now the only downfall, which I don't know if it's really a downfall or not, being this is a smooth bore and it's not rifled, my range, sure, I can't shoot out there 100 yards, but it's not necessary for a hunting gun. If you, most of your game that you take, like an average shot of a deer, is probably within 20-25 yards anyways. So it's not like I really have to go out there and shoot 100 or 150 yards at game. Now this is a 20 gauge, 62 caliber is a 20 gauge. When you put like a shotgun, use a shotgun, we use gauges. 20 gauge is what it is. Now that is the smallest gauge that I can legally harvest turkey with. So being this is 20 gauge, I can legally harvest every type of game animal here that I have here in southern Indiana. My tip to you, as far as if you're looking to purchase one, try and pick an era or a time period or some type of history that you have interest in or want to reflect on, and search out and study what type of firearm or trade gun that was carried in that area which you want to portray, and buy that. If you do a little bit of history on the trade gun, you'll find out that they're a really solid built, no nonsense firearm. And when it comes to being out in the woods and even in a survival situation, this is a firearm that they all depended on. Hope you got a little bit out of this video and stimulated you to think about trade guns. I'll catch you out in the woods.